Well, hey everyone. It's good to be back with you, and I hope you were able to join us this past weekend for one of our cantata services, which were a great way to get us aimed toward the hope of Christmas. This season is full of promise and expectation as we get closer to the celebration of Jesus being born, because his coming has changed everything for those who have trusted in him. Jesus arrived on the scene, and now we remember what his coming means and eagerly wait for him to come back. And yet, in midst of that, there are a lot of circumstances and feelings and emotions and other things that can distract us from this confident hope we have in what God has and will accomplish. It's so easy to get distracted by those things, but my hope is that we lean into what is true in this season and beyond. I think of Isaiah 41, when Israel was reminded of God's power and promises and had to decide whether they were going to be overwhelmed and consumed with the things happening around them, namely some pretty substantial military forces and otherwise. They could have leaned into how they felt and the feelings of inadequacy and fear that sought to dominate, but God had something else for them. He didn't want them to depend on how they felt or how they seemed utterly defeated. He wanted them to depend on what they knew, who they knew. God was going to show himself, even with all the noise going on around them. There was a reality that was true and that the Israelites could own. And the same is true for us. There's certainly a lot of noise in our lives right now. With the things we've been experiencing for months now, there's the busyness of the holiday season and just the normal stuff we'd be going through. There are so many opportunities to allow our feelings of loss, inadequacy, fear, maybe obligation, hurriedness, anxiety, and a ton of other feelings to take over and cause our confidence in what God will do to waver. But the reality is that God has things for his people, even with all of that stuff and all those feelings going on. I think it's important for us to understand that our feelings and emotions are very real, but they may not be true. But we know who and what is true, and we can and should understand our experience and our hope in light of that. So often people say to each other, and sometimes we even say here, that we want you to feel a certain way, like welcome or connected or loved. But so often, I just think to myself, I don't want you to feel that. I want you to know that. Because just by feeling it, you can be duped. Just by feeling it, it might not be true. But if you know it, if you have experienced the reality and have evidence of it, that's something and carries with it substance. I don't want you to feel loved. I want you to know that you are. I don't want you to feel welcome and connected. I want you to know and have experienced that you're welcome and connected. And God wants the same thing for you. He wants you to know and lean into what is true. Those Israelites in Isaiah faced some pretty hefty opposition that had often caused them to feel some things and to waver. But God tells them not to fear, that he won't forsake them and is going to accomplish more than they ever felt possible. With everything going on this season, let's focus on what we know. Let's make much of that. I'm not saying that we shouldn't feel, but I am saying that we should make sense of those feelings in light of what is true. And he's the one who is true. He's the one who has accomplished the miraculous for his glory and our joy, whatever we face. This Christmas season and beyond, we can rest content in who we know, no matter what. And I'll close with this. What God says to the Israelites facing so much and what we can sit in today. He says, when the poor and needy seek water, and there is none, and their tongue is parched with thirst, I, the Lord, will answer them. I, the God of Israel, will not forsake them. I will open rivers on the bare heights and fountains in the midst of the valleys. I will make the wilderness a pool of water, and the dry land springs of water. I will put in the wilderness the cedar, the acacia, the myrtle, and the olive. I will set in the desert the cypress, the plane, and the pine together, that they may see and know, may consider and understand together that the hand of the Lord has done this. The Holy One of Israel has created it. It's him we hope in. It's him we can trust. It's him we can know, that we may see and know, may consider and understand together that the hand of the Lord has done this, sending Jesus to a lost and hurting world to bring us back. Know that today, and know that you are loved.